Autoboot Camp, often accidentally spelled as Autobot Camp, is the 9th episode of Transformers Animated, 25th overall, and originally aired in America June 13th, 2008. In it, an escaped criminal makes Bumblebee think back to his days in boot camp with Bulkhead. Shenanigans ensue. The episode begins with the escape of the guy. Sentinel has went back to his Cybertronian vehicle. And what? This guy kinda looks like Cybertronian Bumblebee, but he's green. After jumping on a bunch of asteroids, they find a space bridge, which you can apparently just turn on by shooting it. Back on Earth, Ultra Magnus informs the group about Wasp is an escaped criminal and a former spy for the Khans. And B recognizes him, which causes him to flashback to when he wanted to be an elite guard, but then Wasp called him a short stack, despite them being from the same body mold, literally. But Wasp is elitist about it, and he's played by Tom doing one of his less silly voices.
You poor sad bot. It's not how you were forged, but who you know.
In the now, Megatron congratulates his spy, and Sumdac decides to leak the footage of Megatron being way too specific and talking about his construction project. If Sumdac can just leak the information to the Autobot base, why doesn't he just leak where the mine is and where he is? And Isaac looks the exact same despite spending what has to have been half a year in captivity with little to no sleep and most likely little to no food other than probably a little bit of garbage. Space Barnacle reference. Back in the past, this is our first time in Animated being on the ground on Cybertron, and much like Beast Machines, it has purple sky and blue environments. This is where B met the Bulkster, who comes from an Energon farm. He's a bit of a country bumpkin, and Wasp calls him a total mudflap, which I guess is the Transformer equivalent of redneck.
Attend! Hut! I am Sentinel Minor, your drill sergeant!
This calls back to the beginning of the season when Sentinel knew B and Bulkhead but didn't remember them.
You, Tiny, step out from behind your overgrown pal!
I don't think he remembers us.
And that's just how I want to keep it.
Foreshadowing, because of course the drill sergeant want to remember every single person they train, just like how every teacher doesn't remember you. Also back then, his rank was Sentinel Minor. This is a reference to Optimus Minor, which was a Beast Wars toy that never made it to the show. And long before Transformers Siege gave us actual rankings for Transformers, I guess in Animated it goes Minor, Prime, Magnus. Originally I was going to be funny about it and add the audio from Full Metal Jacket because boot camp, but Sentinel already directly quotes it.
I am Sentinel Minor, your drill sergeant! But you linchpins will address me as sir! Is that clear?
I am Gunnery Sergeant Hartman, your senior drill instructor. Do you maggots understand that?
Sir, yes, sir.
Wipe that smile off your face, dull spark!
I'm not smiling, sir. My jaw is just tempered that way, sir.
Do you think I'm cute, Private Pile? Do you think I'm funny?
Sir, no, sir.
Then wipe that disgusting grin off your face.
Sir, yes, sir.
Well, any fucking time, sweetheart.
Forget Mudflap's jaw. Check out the asteroid-sized chin on Sarge.
You got a comment, funny butt?
No, sir.
That you, John Wayne? Is this me?
Who the fuck said that?
Sir, I said it, sir.
What have we got here? A fucking comedian, Private Joker.
Why does a weak-jointed, slow-processing hunk of junk like you want to be an Autobot recruit?
To be an elite guard warrior and kick Decepticon skid plates, sir.
You couldn't kick my motherboard if I held it in front of your foot!
Private Joker, why did you join my beloved corps?
Sir, to kill, sir.
So you're a killer.
Sir, yes, sir.
Let me see your war face.
Each of you, sound off! Why do you want to be here?
To be an elite guard intelligence officer, sir. To be an elite guard trooper, sir. To be an elite guard commander, sir.
Well, I was kind of hoping I could be a certified space bridge technician.
Bridge technician. Now here's a bot who knows his place.
This guy has stretchy arms, so Sentinel calls him Long Arms. This is long before it was established that Transformers have computer names like D16 and shit. I guess it's also something in Animated because Sentinel gets to name them. This one's Ironhide because he is Colossus from X-Men. He's played by Corey, and despite laughing with Wasp when they called Bulkhead a mudflap, he also has this weird kind of southern accent.
Hit me with everything you got, sir!
Wasp has stingers, and so does B, but he's not much of a hotshot. How Sentinel knows either a Wasp or a B, shut up.
Bumblebee.
You got a problem with that, cadet?
Sir? No, sir.
Oh, sorry. Sarge, sir.
What's your name, scumbag?
Hound, sir. Hound, how dare you have such a beautiful, noble, and majestic name like Hound? When I asked for new recruits, apparently they just sent me the most worthless piece of shit and they bought in bulk.
You're Bulkhead!
Instead of push-ups, they transform back and forth. Bee and Bulk are on oil change duty, which is the equivalent of the army making you clean out the drink dispensers at the bar. But this screw-up makes Bee have to embarrass himself. But during this, he comes across someone calling Lugnut who puts Megatron on the phone. He's calling to congratulate his spy and reminds him to get to the higher-ups because remember, Megatron has to deal with Lugnut and Blitzwing. Of course he has to remind his people this. And yes, that is also Cybertronian and Megatron. And it turns out Wasp was in the same building. So Bee suspects him, and also Long Arm is played by Corey, doing a very familiar sounding voice.
Long Arm, got a nano click?
For you? No way. You think there's a spy bot among us?
Long Arm knows if he tells Sentinel, he'll just take the credit, so they gotta find a way to expose him. In the present, Bee and Bulk are looking for the cave and get stuck in mud. In the past, Bee tries exposing Wasp, but only glitter bombs Sentinel, and accidentally projects on a loudspeaker that Sentinel thinks Magnus is getting old and dumb. Also, Cliffjumper is there. I'm guessing he's also a minor. So Sentinel makes everyone do push-ups, much like in Full Metal Jacket, and because of that, much like Full Metal Jacket, everyone turns on Bee, but instead of beating him with socks, they steal his legs, throw him up somewhere high, and stuff him in a locker. But Long Arm helps him. But in the now, Bulk is getting tired of looking for the con mine and leaves. In the past, the group finally gets to their combat training, and Wasp found a nade, which apparently was a strawberry milk grenade. And the turrets are also filled with strawberry milk. Until a mysterious shadowy guy turns the lasers to fatal. It's kind of clear that this is a gray hand and Wasp has green hands, so clearly this was Sentinel just trying to take out Bee. Bulk saves Bee, and then Bee saves Bulk because Bulk pushed down a building which happened to land on Sentinel. In the now, Bee gets collapsed on as well. Random locker inspection. Hide your jelly donuts and what's frame? I mean expose Wasp. So Long Arm trips him so Bee can take his key. What are those books? Sentinel comes in with an arm sling because cartoon and finds either the phone still had recordings of Megatron or those are just the Decepticon go-to brand of phones. So Cliffjumper straps Wasp to a dolly and he gets tossed out and gets his badge ripped off and then put right back on in the far shot. Also, Bulkhead is assumed to have been the one to push the building on him. But Bee takes the blame, ruining his chances to go into the Elite Guard to be with his best friend in Space Bridge duty. And speaking of, Bulkhead finds Bee in the present. Best friends. Ah man, they literally just found the front door of the mines. Good thing they didn't find Megatron on his daily walk. And then Long Arm Prime, I guess is the Secretary of Intelligence, being informed about the transmission Bee found. Current Wasp has gone insane and slightly discolored because of years of being probably tortured for information that doesn't exist and solitary confinement. His voice has also changed and he talks to himself in the third person because if you haven't got it by now, he's Waspinator.
Wasp make Bumblebot pay for ruining Wasp's life!
And back at Megatron, using the same shot from earlier, he congratulates his real spy.
Well done, my loyal servant, Shockwave.
I should have guessed the gray guy was the gray hand from earlier. This episode is fantastic. It's really interesting seeing Bee's past and how he met Bulkhead and became best friends with him. Long Arm being the spy is actually a really good twist because you would expect that Wasp would be because he's an asshole, and any other show definitely would have had just Wasp be the spy. But Long Arm is actually trying to get in good with everyone and stay quiet and actually helping out, throw shade at other people. You know, like someone who's trying to infiltrate and get to being a higher up in the society and is also trying not to get noticed. And apparently originally Wasp wasn't going to be in the original episode. Originally it was going to be Cliffjumper. Probably in a way to avoid any G1 boomers who have been scared off by any reference to Beast Wars. Cliffjumper was designed, and much like Wasp, he looks like Bee, but the plot changed eventually, and there was a plan to reuse this concept in Season 4, but we'll get to that another day. Overall, this episode gets a solid 10 out of 10. Wasp, being a literal recolor of Bee, does use this mold really well, and you can tell other than just the head, the endoskeleton, I guess, is different. And in modern times, not just his eyes being purple, but his inner skeleton has gone from yellowish to being more green, probably referencing the 90s Waspinator toy having a different color scheme. And keeping up with the gimmick, Ironhide is just a new head on the Cybertronian Ratchet body. His gimmick about being Colossus and being able to turn super hard is really cool. And in Japan, he's known as Armorhide because Bulkhead is called Ironhide there. It is kind of weird, despite being close friends with Wasp, they don't bring him to Earth to be trying to find him. Longarms is incredibly unique, having the stretchy arms, and he is, appropriately small and cute looking and unassuming to be the spy. The gray, dark gray, light gray, and hints of cyan is really cool. I probably shouldn't mention Shockwave's design because we haven't seen his full body, but whatever. It also looks really cool and skinny and sharp. Like a Wendigo when Slender Man became a Transformer. This is the first time we technically seen Shockwave since G1 because Shock Blast had to be a pseudonym because of copyright. And I like they didn't super cheat with his design. You can tell he still looks a lot like Longarm, even though he's extended out. Even down to his head, you can see the big red eye is a forehead crystal. Longarm's chin strap thing becomes Shockwave's antlers, which might be a reference to Armada Sideways. But let me know you guys' opinion down below, as well as hitting that like button and subscribing if you're new.